two last stages in our self-improvement journey or ego development journey are left and are going to be discussed in this video. So right now we're entering into the post-conventional stage, where we already start to understand that there is much to think about. We basically develop fourth, fifth, and nth perspectives during this stage of self-development journey. We start to broaden our perspective even more. And with this expansion, we became aware of some things that were unknown for us before the expansion. Regarding ourself, regarding our ego, of course. And when we enter into this stage, we basically reborn. And we became hippies or individualists. So the first mentality in the post-conventional stage is individualist / pluralist. So these are one and the same. Why did I call this mentality a hippie one? Because most hippies are living with the same mentality, living with the same morals, and they're quite, weird in some way, but at the same time unique. For this reason, they are very difficult people to cope with, and they are really ambiguous personalities, and for this reason, relationships are quite hard, challenging to build with those people, especially intimate relationships, because at this stage we become aware that there is a lot more, basically, because we broaden our perspective. We became more aware of the self. We became more mindful of everything. And this agency that comes to us, this power we gain as we broaden our perspective, it leads us to some kind of a unusual state, or it might be also called a state of confusion. We are too confused with this whole new world that had opened to us. And it is really overwhelming for individualists and pluralists to envision all of that, or rather behold this picture. Imagine that individualist or pluralist were sitting in some sort of a house for 80% of their lives. So perhaps when they got to the age of 35, they suddenly moved out of their house and they saw a large, vast world of nature, of animals, of lakes, of mountains, of singing birds, of other people. And this state of mind, which is awe, basically marvel and confusion melange with surprise could be applied to this stage or this type of mentality. Why does this type of mentality divide into two? Individualist mentality and pluralist, because they have different functions. Individualists are all about being unique, right? They have this desire to become unique, to make unique contribution, which is separate from all other contributions done by other people with other selves. And of course, they have everything unique in their life, including their decision making. They have this abstract, esoteric way of dealing with problems, so they might be starting to use meditation or getting more deep into our intuition state, somewhat researching, examining these states of mind. How does these things work? And basically, this whole mentality is searching for how we believe what we believe, how we come to believe what we believe. And this basically happens due to our ego. So individualists are also confused with this new world that they have opened up to themselves. As infant is confused when he is born, this stage, this mentality is kind of a reincarnation of our mind. And with this reincarnation, individualists start to see that there are conflicts going in their head. When there was one unique, unilateral, so to say, self, it has become a lot more monolateral. So there are now different selves conflicting with each other in their head. And because of that, they are confused with who they are. And from this stems a fear of not actually realizing who they are, not achieving that goal of self-actualization, because it is challenging thing to just take and unite those selves. What about pluralist stage, you would ask? Well, pluralist side, rather, not it's not a separate part. So individualist and pluralist are one and the same. So it's two sides of the same coin. Pluralist side is a type of mentality that includes many opinions. Thus, it's pluralist. It includes plural opinions. And it is a more of a justice type mentality. This justice mentality is kind of, exaggerated because it includes almost all opinions. Let it be poor or let it be a wealthy person. It appreciates each opinion. And this might come as a stagnation for fast decision making, but it also builds a good base for the next stage to make great decisions, because it now includes different views which might have great outcomes, not just a self-centric type of personality is a pluralist. It includes an array of opinions, evaluates those somewhat, but does it not so well. And because of that, again, a stagnation might occur in decision making. But they, at the same time, build a good base for a future decision making. A common somewhat attribute of those two types of mentality is appreciation of people's uniqueness. So each person is unique system of thinking, reasoning, and so on. And they just really start to appreciate it. And this is the first type of mentality that appreciates others. However, it still has some underdeveloped empathy towards other selves, and it might be impatient to the other lower stage when they try to develop those. So if individualists try to develop, let's say, an impulsive stage, they might see no results for a long period of time, and they get really, really impatient with this. This is somewhat one of the downsides of this stage. Also, there are new sources of information: body sensations, intuition, dreaming, reflection, and meditation, of course. These sources of information are coupled with, of course, scientific methods of doing research, examination. Gradually, they will just become equal to each other, not just separate ways of dealing with this, with some problem, but they will become equal. as new world opens up, they start to feel that, oh, well, I have this large universe to investigate, and in order to do that, I have to abandon the rational way of thinking. I have to deepen my deliberation somewhat. I have to deepen my analysis, examination. So they try to distance themselves from this type of thinking. And basically, most types of mentalities in this post-conventional stage are of the same idea of distancing from the rational thinking, but it'll be different from stage to stage, and you'll see that. So that was all about the individualist and pluralist type of mentality, and we move into the strategic type of mentality, or strategist. You might imagine some coach or therapist who is a real professional, who knows what he does, who has a lot of experience in investigating ourself, psychology of ourself, and has a vast amount of knowledge, basically. Strategists are great leaders, courageous and charismatic. They have also a large appreciation for others. And for this reason, what do I mean by that? They value the autonomy and coupled with strengths and vulnerabilities of others. So they appreciate uniqueness and both pros and cons of each person they interact with. That makes them a better leader. Also, they have this unique aspect of global viewing, global perspective, which takes both past and the future. So, with this view of the past and the future comes this strategic capacity. They also have unique way of thinking, which is called developmental thinking. What is it, you would ask? What is the developmental thinking? Perhaps you already understand what this style of thinking is all about. And it's about viewing how oneself has developed from the past to the current moment. So, strategists have this capability of viewing both past and the future. So they are moving along these timelines, basically. And for this reason, they make far-flung decisions, so to say. These decisions are made based on 3 vital skills. So those 3 vital skills are assessment, evaluation, and analysis. They are deliberate thinkers, deep thinkers, might be philosophical sometimes, and you basically got the idea how their thinking works. It works in a more systematic way, compared to the previous stage of individualism pluralist, who have this yet unstructured universe, an empty universe. But in the universe of strategists, there are some, I don't know, bridges, roads which lead to either past or future, and they have all the directions they go by and observe oneself in the past, oneself in the moment current, and they make some great decisions, great strategies based on their memory, their vision of the future. And with this type of thinking, which is global, as you understood, comes perhaps surprising preoccupation, which is about making a contribution that will stay for a longer time, preferably for forever. The longer the contribution will stay active, the better the strategist will feel. And with this idea, they are just constantly searching for the ways of improving society. They concentrate on justice. Most of these folks on the post-conventional and on the unitive stage will go crazy for this. Go crazy for justice. They want to make some great contributions which impact other people, which impact others' well-being. And strategists are large advocates for justice. They might even get really pissed off by some injustice done by some, I don't know, company, organization, and they will be stubborn in their actions when they are filled with anger towards injustice. They will do everything to impact not only the current society, but the future generation that will arrive. And this is a pretty great, attractive way of thinking for a great leader, of course. Open-minded rather thinking outside of the box. They exactly see that, oh, we have this rule, all right? We have this, I don't know, ruling we all follow, but there are some details that basically are injustice. They are not justified. I can't stand this injustice. I have to change something. And for this reason, for constant search of improving society and for developing justice, they are prone to break rules a lot. They are courageous, as I've said, for this reason, that they are willing to break rules if needed. A downside for this type of mentality is again impatience when communicating with someone who needs their help or someone they desire to improve. And another thing Another characteristic, rather, which is a downside, is that they might become too boastful. And you might have felt that while I was describing this person. Because, he's overly courageous. Don't you feel that? Overly charismatic, overly sexy, and all that. I don't know. And this might create some image of a philanthropist or just a billionaire, gazillionaire, who is quite corrupted. But in this case, strategists are more of a, I don't know, more of a stubborn people in this term. They are interested in analysis, of course. They are interested in self-actualization and in the psychology of self. They are interested in researching who we are, why we are on this planet. What is the meaning of our life? And for this research, they use both conventional and the post-conventional methods, as in the previous stage. The post-conventional methods are those of the bodily sensations, meditation, self-reflection, non-scientific stuff. All right? Another great aspect of this stage is a polarity thinking. What is a polarity thinking? Polarity thinking is viewing problems from two sides. What are those? Positive side and the negative side. This kind of viewing of the problem might be interpreted as sort of a guide for a strategist. Even when strategist is sad, things don't seem to him so bad. By recalling these lines, even when strategist is sad, events, problems, issues don't seem to him so bad. Might give you this image of him being more accepting. Some things have to exist, and without those things, the world could not exist. There is no good without those things, for one, self, and for the others. This way of thinking is applicable for Stoics thinking. Stoics are grateful for every event, be it a bad or a good one, which brings joy. They equally accept everything that fate, the superior, the God, endows them with. Because otherwise, things might have been worse. So there is a large acceptance on this stage. there is some sort of a equation, or rather phenomenon, that occurs when you have this mentality of a strategist, that you are striving for development. You are a large advocate of development. You think that it's the best thing that a person might aspire to achieve. And with this mentality, you also combine the acceptance of this stage, of this mentality. I accept everything that fate presents to me. I accept everything that God or superior endows me with. So, when those two, so say, aspects of this mentality, a striving for development and acceptance of what it is, collide, they create development. This collision, this encounter, basically creates this chance for moving to another stage on this development ladder, on this self-improvement journey. You have great odds for self-development if you combine both effort towards development and acceptance of what it is. So it was an interesting information. One of the most interesting informations about this stage, along with the polarity thinking, of course, which you might use in order to view life as Stoics did and be a lot more happier in general. So with this development from individualist / pluralist stage to the strategist, even more awareness of self arrives. Strategists basically have this image of ideal self, what they desire their self to be. Their self has to be authentic, truthful, and adaptive. Authenticity is one of the most, so to say, fundamental ones out of these three aspects, because they evaluate the relationships, as you had saw with their leadership style. They evaluate others, even above themselves. So the authenticity is important for building relationships. And for this reason, it is a fundamental aspect of their self. Unlike achievers or experts who tend to criticize themselves for failures, for shortcomings in any area of their life or work, strategists are capable of accepting what it is. And when they face the failure, they feel that knowing feeling of not presenting oneself fully, not being at our best, but this capability of acceptance enables strategists to forgive himself, show self-compassion. And this self-compassion lets them to somewhat break loose this event which had occurred, this failure. They let this failure go away and move on themselves in their life. So acceptance helps them in this self-criticism issue. They basically let it go, let go of the failure, let go of the issue which is concerning them, and move on themselves, because they know that if they are going to be attached to this for a long period of time, they will basically get stuck and will not develop. And this is a much greater threat to them. So they just let it go, let it pass. And there is another fear coming after a fear of injustice, which is feeling no longer needed. Imagine the strategist as a head of a company or some sort of group which has made a great contribution for a betterment, for advancement of the society. And suddenly, no need in that, no need in the company, no need in the ideology of the head of the company, who is strategist. They will understand that, yeah, perhaps my time had passed, so perhaps I gotta go, I gotta move on. Even thought they might accept this. They might understand the situation. Still, they will feel a depressive state. This kind of event actually might become a stem for depression among the strategists. And mostly, this phenomenon becomes a stem for strategists resigning from their workplace, from their jobs, because they feel no longer needed, and they basically move on with this, but leave the job, leave the project at the same time. And of course, they still have this fluctuation going in their head. Afterwards, they have not fully understood this whole universe that had opened to them. They have this sense of understanding, a better understanding of what it is, what is the ego. They have 60% progress in their attainment of that knowledge. So they are still searching for the complete self, which has to be, again, authentic, truthful, and adaptive. They are trying to develop that kind of mentality. However, this large array of selves conflicting in their head. One saying oneself's opinion, the other says contradiction to that opinion, and this havoc is not yet subjugated. And now we move into the last mentality in the post-conventional stage, which is called construct/ego aware. Or simply put, alchemist. Who is the alchemist? Well, you probably know that alchemist is a medieval person who does the chemistry, creates formulas, who is a large fan of philosophies and deep contemplation, creating different theories. And if you thought about this, then you got the main idea of this stage: construct or ego aware. The type of the image rather of their thinking, of their mental state, comes in the image of two circles. So imagine the outer circle and the inner circle. The outer circle is the ego-aware part of their thinking. The inner circle, which is a lot more smaller, more small than the first one, is construct-aware part of their self. So let me describe each of these sides, or rather functions of the mental part of the alchemist. How basically brain of the alchemist works. Their brain is divided into two parts. The large part is ego aware, and the little part, which is actually an element of the larger part, is construct aware. The construct aware part of their thinking is based upon awareness that everything around us, every idea, every book, every bed, every paper, every thought are constructed, are made by the ego. And the ego-aware part, which is basically the boss of the whole system of thinking of the alchemist, is questioning our seekings. So this type of mentality is one which is applicable to a philosopher, as you probably get, because mostly alchemists sees the structure of our thinking and feeling. They research how we come to create beliefs based upon our feelings, based upon our thinking. They start to think in an organismic way. So there is a conventional, rational way of thinking, a superficial one, which goes just, surfacely on the thing, but they get the microscope and see the details. They see that, There are little elements to that. There are little organisms. There are some intricacies, details which are not usually comprehended by achiever or expert or any other previous stage. For this reason, they start to question a lot, question why we question why we seek what we seek. We seek goals, of course, achieving them. We seek meaning in life. Why we seek meaning in life, they ask themselves. Thus, they have this habit of questioning and analysis. Their main source or rather fuel for living is creation of complex theories. And after that they try to create even more complex theories that describe our behaviors and behaviors of ourself or our ego. Now, at this stage, we get the 80% progress in understanding self. So we already are close to get the idea of how we function, why ego functions in some particular way, why it is what it is. And for this reason, they start to create more and more complex theories that describe every detail of the thinking, basically, of meaning making. However, with this progress comes one striking, lurid knowledge. So listen closely. This is a striking moment. For every person, probably. Alchemist comes to realization that ultimate knowledge on ego, ultimate knowledge on self, who we are, why we exist, is not real. It is elusive. It is unattainable. So, Alchemist becomes aware that he will not grasp fully the knowledge of what self truly is, what is our ego. But through the years of deliberate thinking, their thorough examinations, reviews on our nature, on ourself, alchemists have developed this view of oneself's interpretation of becoming. Or rather, let me put it in this way. So, alchemist becomes aware that there are plenty of theories on how they become who they are. There are plenty theories about our becoming. They are aware of those. At the same time, they have their own interpretation of how they became who they are. And keeping these two ideas in mind, their interpretation of who they are and interpretation of other theories of who is a human being, they start to intertwine those and create those complex theories. Alchemists had already identified that reality cannot be described in any conventional manner. Reality cannot be described by words. Reality cannot be described by images. Thought, we are capable of naming everything. We could take a little particle that flies in the air and name it Socrates, and name it, I don't know, a brown. Anything. And through creation of those complex theories, there is now available fully functions of our ego, which you might probably know from some basic research done by many great scientists in this area who were, in their mentality, alchemists. Construct an ego-aware people. Ego function is based upon perception of environment and perception of ourselves. So what we see, everything. I see this camera. My mind, my brain works on full mode to make meaning out of it. So it is already something conventional for me. Yeah, I see camera. It's nothing unusual here, so no need to worry or become, I don't know, anxious about it because it's something unusual. And at the same time, I am aware of myself at some degree. So my ego makes some sense out of who we are, based upon our goals, based upon our thinking, based upon our interests. So we might, surround ourselves with great books, and our ego will make meaning out of it that, yeah, we are, you know, most clever people on the earth. We are destined to be writers, philosophers, deep thinkers, so on and so forth. And these were the two main functions that become somewhat known to alchemists. That ego functions as a way of perceiving surrounding things and the way of perceiving the internal dimension, our self, basically, our ego. Really complex, I know, because it's Alchemist. What did you expect? The Alchemist is always about complex thinking. So when it comes to the leadership style of Alchemist, or rather coaching style, they are great therapists. You know why? Because they have developed this long-awaited empathy toward other stages. Already at the strategist stage, we develop this acceptance towards everything that exists. And of course, towards other selves. At the stage of alchemist, it has been fully developed. So now we see other people and we still honor them, honor their uniqueness, honor everything in them. We love human beings for what they are. And there is a great capability that Alchemist has, which is setting themselves at the lower stage deliberately. So they might be coaching an impulsive person, all right? They might be coaching opportunist. They might be coaching achiever. So they instantly identify that this person is of this stage, of conventional stage, of pre-conventional stage, and they are adjusting their coaching style to this type of mentality. If it is impulsive, impulsive wants to be the greatest, the best. So Alchemist says, all right, you are the best, you're the greatest, so don't get mad at me, and let's find a solution for your problem. And basically, they listen with full empathy, they support the idea of other person that this is truly a problem for him or her, and after listening to the whole issue that this person of some mentality has, based again on their mentality, they reframe the problem. So let's imagine that impulsive person has some problems with their job. They have some relationship problems with others because they are very dependent. They want to be the best. They want to be number one. So Alchemist greatly understands them that, yeah, this is the way the impulsive person works. It works on impulses. It is a type of mentality which is all about actions, not about planning or thinking. So they greatly understand this, and they start to praise them, praise that impulsive stage because it wants to be the number one. So they build that bond. Basically, impulsive starts to understand, oh, this person is a great person. Well, he really praised me. I like that. I really like that. So let me just tell you the whole story, and yeah, I know I'm the best. And all that stuff goes on, and basically after the connection has been made through empathic listening, they reframe the problem, explain to the impulsive person that, yeah, the whole problem is not in you particularly, it's in the way your system works. So if you reframe the whole problem to be concentrated not on you but on the way you think, you will understand the path you should go by. And after the reframing, they simply let that person lead himself by this way to the destination point they have identified. And it is about the development of oneself. So, an expansive leadership style, great leadership style actually, because a lot of empathy is located precisely in this stage. So we should take some aspect of that empathic nature into consideration when we are coaching someone or building relationships with someone. Even though they are very empathic people, they still struggle with finding intimate partners or finding truly close people, because there are really few people at this stage, at the stage of alchemist. There are really few alchemists on this planet, basically. But we can support alchemists by, developing ourselves, going through this journey towards the unitive stage, and just make this gentleman alchemist a lot more happier, because now he has some friends alongside who are the same, who are seeking the same goal of making more complex theories and searching for the true interpretation of the self, which is elusive, and basically to find a steady ground to stay on. What do I mean by that? To find a steady ground to stay on. So, because alchemists understand that there is a ego which is existing. Which is existing in our mind, who is making interpretation, meaning out of everything, which is imaginary, not real. They understand that all the things, all the barricades ego sets in our mind, in the form of stereotype, in a form of, faith, in a form of attitude. Alchemist understands that all of that is not real, and it just ignores it. Ignores everything. But the thing is that ego is constantly ongoingly tries to put the barricades, set some barrier to our meaning making. So we just stick with one idea and live with it. Ego says, well, you have this desire for reading, why don't you stick to damn writing? Just write down. But Alchemist says, no, hell no. This is unreal. It can't be real. That habit of reading does not mean that I'm destined to be a writer. And there is a conflict going on at this stage with ego and with the nature of awareness of the alchemist. So ego basically creates ideas and sets barricades in our mind, while ego aware or alchemist understands that they are elusive, they are not real, and just constantly moves everywhere. It is always in move. It is basically floating. It has no steady ground to stand on, because they are now aware that everything that comes to our head is elusive. Pretty dreadful, isn't it? Yeah. Well, alchemists think so. They too think in this way, that it is dreadful, and because of that, they envy most previous stages because, well, they had this so, a light-hearted meaning making. They had some strong ground to stand on. They had some ground to stand on, basically. But Alchemist is always on the move because ego is fueled constantly to make meaning out of everything. Eventually, however, they become more, used to this kind of a conflict, this clash, which goes on and on until one reaches the unitive stage, and they adapt to some sort of a stable ground. And with this stable ground, they try to, really enjoy the moment that, currently I'm standing. I have this ground when I have this ego turned off. So let me just enjoy the moment. In addition, about the ways of examination. Now, dreaming, reflection, intuition are considered to be equal to the scientific methods of examination. I even thought alchemists are, scientific people, as we think. These people are a lot more likely to sit and meditate, and this way create complex theories. Yeah. So finally they find some steady ground to stay on. Or rather, they just simply find the ground to stand on, and after a while they have tried to clash their ego, which has actually stunted them from development. This constant clash, actually, this desire to get to another level gets one more stuck on this level. So alchemists have this desire to move up finally to the unitive stage. However, this desire is actually hinder for him because he constantly tries to deny the ego. It makes the situation worse. But after a while, as we understood, Alchemist finally finds this peace, and after that peace has been sustained and some work has been done on oneself, finally we get into the unitive stage, which is consistent of only one type of mentality, which is unitive. So the moment of greatness has come. The moment of moment had arrived. And who is this Unitive Guy? What he does? What do you think? Maybe he is, I don't know. He's capable of flying, perhaps. Maybe he is capable to manipulate others through some, you know, cerebral capabilities. Well, all of that is true. Yeah. All of the interpretations of the unitive stage might be true. They are true. So, the unitive stage. What is different in the unitive stage is that you are not observing. You are not a scientist. You are not researcher. You are not a person who learns. You are witnesser. You are watcher. You watch everything flowing around you, flowing in the cycle of divine nature, so to say. So, witnessing is the main purpose of this stage, not observing. Truth, the real truth is close, and it's located in the universe, which is open to us on the post-conventional stage. So, the truth can be attained through some unconventional way. By rational means, of course, you won't be able to attain this truth. Thought Alchemist had said that, it's not possible to attain the knowledge on the true self, real knowledge. There is some truth still existing in the universe, and unitive state understands that. So these folks, watchers are aware of the whole dance done by conventional stage, pre-conventional stage, post-conventional stage. They see the whole image. They see the whole interactions going on. They see the whole picture. And, of course, because of their intelligence, they understand that they are no different from those people who they see, witness. For this reason, they are treating others with great compassion and with sense of equanimity. So they feel no difference with others. They are equal with everyone else. And what gave them this capability of really seeing the whole picture is cosmic perspective. The post-conventional stage was based only on the organismic viewing of the things, while the unitive is all about making sense through the cosmic vision. So yeah, I had to stop the recording for a second. Yeah, cosmic perspective is the main source that allows them to witness, see the whole picture, and It is the center of their meaning and the center where the organizing is done. So you might imagine this cosmic perspective as a melange, a mixture of both conventional, pre-conventional, and post-conventional ways. Not ways, but perspectives. So if they are summed, basically, we get this cosmic perspective. And one unique capability a unitive person, a Wathcher, has is that they have a great developed mindfulness through countless hours of meditation, self-reflection, contemplation on oneself, of moving their points of perspective. So, through those practices of mindful meditation, they had already observed their breath, they had already observed the sounds at different distances, they had viewed their thoughts appearing in their mind. And this rehearsal developed this capability of moving their perspective. Not deliberately. Actually, it's done effortlessly. So, in a second, they might relocate their perspective to that of a infant person, or they might choose to relocate their perspective to that of a sophisticated thinker. And the whole thing, basically, of moving their perspective is done effortlessly. This is one of the unique characteristics of the unitive person. Well, what is the unitive ability, you might ask? After all, the stage is called unitive. Unitive ability is all in the relationships, in the attitude towards other people, and it is pure. In what way? It is purely compassionate. It is purely respectful. It is honoring other people without any constraint. They just appreciate every person for who he or she is. For this reason, they understand that there is no reason for trying to change or fix this person. He's already great. He is in one of the best states of himself currently, and you just gotta be this way. There's no other way of existing for that person. And they are now willing to change them. And for this reason, actually, they are very comfortable people to interact with, and basically breathe the same air with, because they are really humble, surprisingly humble, strikingly humble, thought they have this, knowledge of a Wathcher. They have this large perspective, but still they act like a mouse. And when it comes to building relationships with others, they have no problem. They think that it's the main goal for them. Even thought there are no real goals for them. They're not striving to achieve any particular goal or task, because they also have a non-attachment ability. They become unattached to the different thoughts, ideas, which are equal to the goals, tasks. They are not attached to those things because it's not important after all for them, because they know what is the ego, what is the self. They have fully understood it. It will make meaning out of anything. It will derive some meaning through creation of names, through creation of images. There is no other way around. They understand that naming things is important, actually, for growth of fellow humans. Even thought everything we name is not real, it's imaginative. But it is essential for our growth and for our existence, because otherwise there would be no meaning in life, and we would have all been in this depressive mode forever. They realize that, and they tolerate everything. So when it comes to their mind, in the post-conventional stage, one understood that mostly there has been severe clash going on in the minds of three personalities. There's been World War III, or even a cosmic war going on with the ego. And as you might have guessed, at the unitive stage, there is no war, there is no clash. Everything is accepted. Everything is witnessed, but not repressed. They see everything. However, they do not judge everything. They had already got rid of this capability, actually, of judging things. Whereas other stages, including some of the personalities at the post-conventional stages, are with this type of thinking of judging things. Judgment is a basic function of our ego. The main fear of Alchemist is judging things in his mind, because otherwise Life is nothing. It's pure unhappiness for him. He understands that if I won't develop this non-judging mindset, then I'll be unhappy. At the unitive stage, it has been fully developed. So there is no judging of thoughts, of feelings. They're not repressed. They are simply witnessed. They exist, and that's all. So I see you, and just peace, right? I'm not going to perturb you. I just see you. Let me see you. I'm not observing, all right? I'm just seeing you. I am witnessing you. However, thought that Wathchers are not attached to any kind of goal or task. They still have some basic preoccupations that which were left from the post-conventional stage, which are justice, creativity, and existence. Those are the three main preoccupations of the unitive person. Of course, he will desire justice, he will desire continuing to exist, he will desire creativity in the world, in their thinking, in their workspace, in everything they do. Meanwhile, they're not attached to those ideas. They are open-minded totally. Like, they are still aware of those preoccupations. They are still aware of those basic goals, so to say. They are not going crazy for those. They're not fueled by these three preoccupations. However, when it comes to make a decision about one of those three, or make some action in justifying something or being creative, they act fully in the most powerful way. Prior to that, however, they are still. They're not making any, forceful actions. But when it comes to one of those three preoccupations, they will make their move remarkable. So that it is truly powerful and it is seen by every person. It is felt, rather, not seen. It's felt by every person that this action has power. So, still, when they make those actions, they have this idea of being non-attached. They are not even think of this as idea of non-attachment. I'm convinced to call this with the name non-attachment in order for two of us to understand what we're talking about. But for the unitive person, for the Wathcher, there is no such a thing as non-attachment. It can't be described by words. So, again, in every movement, in every thought, in every moment of their life, they are non-attached to something. As in a guided meditation, you are told to be non-attached to your feelings, to your thoughts. It is a basic mode for them. And of course, this peak moment, when we get this epiphany, when we get the true knowledge as we think of it, as our ego makes us think of it, they are no longer peak moments. Yeah. Eventually, those peak moments will be usual moments, as if a simple reading of a magazine paper. There are no peak moments. So just keep that in mind, that there is no such a thing like peak moments and moments of realization. They have already realized what they needed, so they have sustained themselves on this previously felt as a peak moment. Not only this unitive capability is applied to relationships, but basically to everything in life, in every aspect of life, towards any phenomenon, anything in the nature. So the attitude towards, I don't know, some flat worm might be equal to an attitude towards some sophisticated person who is admired by many people. There is equal appreciation for others, for everything. It includes non-living things, and it includes living things. Humans and animals. I don't know, non-living things might be a book, a chair, a sofa, a pen. Just for their existence, they might feel the gratitude, the great gratitude. And perhaps they might feel that they have this separate sense of self. They might be aware of their true individuality, uniqueness basically, but they have one fundamental knowledge about the ego, the uniqueness basically. Uniqueness is actually the function of the ego, one of the functions of the ego. This separation feeling is made up for sustaining the life of ego. It is created for the safety of ego, from its death. But at the unitive stage, the true ego death occurs. For this reason, they are aware of who they are. But at the same time, they are not separating themselves from the flock. They are part of the flock. They are part of a larger system, which includes ups and downs, crazy stuff at times, sometimes not crazy stuff, some day-to-day stuff, I don't know. Everything that happens is taken into consideration due to the high awareness. And this is the peak level of stoicism, perhaps even above it, when you are really capable of being aware of who you are really as a separate individual, as independent individual, but at the same time, you are not separate. You are the part of this large system. It is truly a power. And their awareness also encompasses some moments from the world history and the future. So it is even bigger world perspective than the global perspective of the strategist, which not only encompasses in itself the past of oneself, but also rather the past of the humanity and its future that might soon arrive. And using this kind of awareness with effortless transition from different perspectives, they create studies about possibilities of everything, basically. They use a history of humanity and current experience to somehow estimate what might happen in the future. And of course, they try to grasp the essence of the future experience, what will happen in the future. So now that with this kind of awareness, there is awareness also about the thinking. What is the thinking? Thinking at the unitive stage is considered as another mode of existence. So it is a rational, somewhat lifestyle part. In addition, rational thinking, rational methodology is no longer felt as something bad, is no longer considered as something weak or something useless. It is part of our existence, which is a fundamental part for the harmony we have in the world. And there is no other way of living without this rational lifestyle methodologies, so to say. And of course, thinking is also something rational from the unitive, although he does not judge it as a rational, just perceives it as a mode of existing. Without thinking, we are not able to exist. But thinking is not essential, as feeling, being, and, listen closely, non-being. So feeling, being, and non-being. These three somewhat states of body and mind are mostly known to you. The first two, at least. The last one, non-being, what it is. Well, I'm too kind of confused with this idea of non-being. But as Buddhists interpret this state of non-being, it's awareness of the ultimate illusion understanding. It is ultimate illusion understanding. Non-being is ultimate understanding of the illusion. Hopefully I have managed to interpret it in the right manner, so you could understand it just as it is. Ultimate illusion of understanding. Yeah. So these were the somewhat three key parts of a unitive person, a Wathcher, and we are already close to 2 hours, so let's bring up a conclusion to this stage. So unitive is a person who is separate but yet a part of the flock of truly great animals, humans. Wathcher has this sense of being a part of ongoing evolution, destruction, construction, reconstruction, and the cycle of these events that go on indefinitely, and he just stays in the cycle. He does not separate himself. He is one in the same, yet he is separate. He is separate, but he's not. So this is the end. Yeah, this is the end of the theory about ego development. And there is one great quote from the author of this theory, Susanne Cook-Greuter. She says, her last words in this research paper were, much suffering is alleviated when the automatic habits of mind and heart are unlearned and uncoupled from memory and desires, and replaced instead by mindful, non-evaluative attention to what is now. Keep that in mind. We all have to strive towards true mindfulness. A true mindfulness could be a one-word description, so to say, of a unitive person, the highest, somewhat, state of self-development. So why not to strive towards it? By regular meditations, self-contemplation, reading books, expanding knowledge, expanding perspectives, trying to act differently than the convenient people, but yet staying humble about oneself, staying rather having this humility in check, having the ego also in check, is the key for the great development through this ladder, which starts from the infant stage and ends with this non-judging, non-evaluating stage of our mentality. So I hope you have managed to learn a lot of stuff from the previous part of this video and this last part. I'm grateful that you exist. I'm grateful for everything in my life, everything in your life. I'm trying to act like unitive, in some way, but yeah. Really appreciate your attention, and see you next video. Stay tuned and stay on the path of development.